and I lead analytics product development at Zafin. I'm super excited to be talking about signals. Now, signals enables proactive alerting. I've talked to banks across the world, and there's one thing that I consistently hear. It takes too long for bankers to find out about changes in their business. With signals, we're changing that. We're doing this in two ways. First, we're making it possible to embed fee and usage data across the bank from digital banking to the RM. Second, we are computing large volumes of data to distill key patterns, and we're alerting bankers about those patterns. Let me show you what this looks like.
Let's say you're a product manager and you want to embed ATM transactions, count of ATM transactions into your digital banking application. So what you do is you can come here and you can this, as you can see, this is a list of metrics, and then but here in this case you want to create a new metric. So let's say we say ATM transaction count, and from here you're doing this on transactions. You can do it on balances, fees, but let's say we want to do it on transactions. Calculate ATM transaction count to uh, bill to provide an alert. Okay, so now we go on to the next screen, and this is the main canvas. What you can see here is that in this case, on the previous slide, on the previous screen, we selected transactions. So what you can see here is that all the attributes that are available for transactions. In this case, we are interested in selecting transactions with a transaction code of ATM, since we want to do ATM transactions. And you can combine this in many expressive ways. What you can do is you can add transactions. Let's say you want to have ATM transactions that have a value of greater than like $50, right? You could do that and it's just going to work, and it's highly expressive. You can combine this in many different ways. But in this case, let's keep it simple. ATM transactions. You want to sort of select ATM transactions, and then what do you want to do with those ATM transactions? Do you want to count them? Do you want to sum them? Do you want to, in a particular period, you want to calculate the min and max? In this case, we're really interested in the ATM transaction count. So we do that. We go on to the next screen. We review this. Is it all okay? We want to see if this is the count on transactions, and of course, this is the transaction code that we want to filter for, and we want to count it. So what happens then is that we can just activate it. Once you activate it, then you can see the evolution of the metric, right? So you can see this is all being generated dynamically, and it's highly expressive. If this transaction is if this definition was any different, for example, if this was another type of transaction code, another type of transaction value, then it would adapt accordingly. So once you activate a metric, which is what we've done here, what you can see here is you can see the metric ID here. And this metric ID, why this metric evolution is useful and very insightful, is this metric ID, which is the superpower. Because then what you can do is you can take this metric ID, and then you can use a standard API, which I'm just going to show you, to propagate this metric throughout your enterprise, whether it needs to go into a channel application, digital banking application, relationship management application. It can just be propagated throughout. Right. So we're in Postman now, and this is the metric that we just created. So I've added that metric here. And what you can see is, so this is, if you remember, this is the transaction metric name, ATM transaction count. And we specify the customers that we want this data for, and this API gets it for us. But now let's say that we don't want it for like a group of customers. Let's say that we want it at the level of an account, right? So let's say we want to get it for account 50. And let's say that we don't want to get it on if we don't want a monthly aggregate, but we want it at the level of a day. Let's say we want to show this customer at the level of a day. And essentially, that's what you can see. The API takes care of everything, whether you want the data at the customer level, or a group of customers, or an account level, or a group of accounts, whether you want it at the daily grain or the monthly grain, the between a start and end date. You dynamically specify the shape of data you want for the metric that you've actually defined, and we propagate this. This API generates this response based on what you've asked for, and it sends this data. And this data, of course, since you've defined your metric in one place, it's a standard definition for the metric. And this metric gets propagated throughout your enterprise. So now your digital banking application, your the channel application that may be used by the branch or the relationship managers, they don't have different definitions of the metric. They have one definition of a usage metric, and say it would work the same way for fees. There's one definition, and and it's propagated everywhere else. So it's a consistent. Not only does it help embed data across the enterprise, but it also helps with standardization of the metrics, so there's no inconsistency. But that's not all, because then what you can do then is that you can set alerts on this. Now, let me just quickly go back and set the alert. So now we've looked at how the API works. Now let's look briefly at the alerting functionality. Because what you can do, let's say what you want to do is you want to set an alert at on threshold of 5. Let's say you want to alert customers once they cross a threshold of 5 ATM transactions. So it's now what you do here is that you basically select over when you want to select 5, and you save this. What we do now is that our system, so now that you've actually set this alert, our system keeps track of this particular metric that you've defined, and it keeps track of this alert that you've defined for this metric. And whenever the alert crosses a threshold, like in this case 5, it's going to send it's going to notify, it's going to generate an alert event, and that alert event can be used to notify customers, notify relationship managers, and so on and so forth. The second capability that I wanted to talk about is models. Models is where we analyze large volumes of data to distill insights. And based on those insights, you can actually generate alerts. So the way models works is that you can create you can create a model from a library, and this is the growing library. Let me give you an example of the types of capabilities that models enable. So, for example, this one that you're looking at is a month-on-month fee variance, in which we analyze the whole universe of fees that we're actually computing at the level of at the level of customers, and then based on that we generate variances to enable handling, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Another example can be a new account activation. This is to identify cases in which a customer has opened the account but has not activated the account, and so on and so forth. There are other models that we've implemented on offer expiry and other aspects of regulatory reporting. Now in this case, let's go with the month-on-month fee variance. We click on that. Let's say that this is what we want to activate, because we want to generate fee variances, uh, variances for selected fees. And the reason we want to do this is that alert relationship manager on high variance. So essentially what you want to do is that if the variance is too high, you want to notify the relationship manager. Let's say this is in a corporate banking context of because something might be happening with that particular corporate client. Their financial health might be changing, their business pattern may be changing, and that requires attention from the relationship manager. So now we do this, and let's say we don't want to do this for all the fees. Let's say we want to do this for monthly service fees, or and maybe some fees related to deposits. Now we've based on these settings, we can now review it, and then we can activate the model. Now, what happens once we activate the model is the Zafin system starts tracking the model as has been defined here. So in this particular case, to actually track these types of fees, to generate variances for these fees at the level of every customer. So now this data set is obviously made available through APIs and other integration means. But in this case, in addition to that, let's say that we want an alert to go out, so that we keep track. Not just do we calculate these variances based on all the fee computation that we're doing, but we also want to alert on it. So alert on high variance. So let's say we want to set an alert that if the variance is over 20%, then we want and we want the RM to be notified. So in this case, now what we're doing is that that our system is computing the variances and is also keeping track of these thresholds based on which the stakeholders may need to be informed. Like the stakeholder may be a relationship manager, which is the case here, but it could also be the treasury team of the corporate client or the finance team of the corporate client. So now let me recap. We've talked about two capabilities in Signals. One is metrics, and metrics allow you to embed fee and usage data across your enterprise. And it's a standard definition that can get propagated throughout your enterprise. It makes it very easy for you to embed these insights. And the second is models in which we analyze large volumes of data and we distill patterns and insights to notify relationship managers, product managers, bankers, as well as in some cases these alerts that we generate can be used to power end user notifications of the retail and corporate bank. Okay.